All right, guys, before we get into the AFC Championship, be sure, I just want to tell you guys, you have a chance to win some free Apple AirPods from Pixwise. All you got to do, simply like this video, comment down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's that easy, so just go do it, get it done, and win some AirPods. All right, guys, let's talk about the Bills at the Chiefs at Arrowhead, obviously, one of the best home field advantages in the league, if there is one to be found in this Corona Apocalypse 2021 season. As of Wednesday today, the Chiefs are 3-point favorites, and the point total is set at 53.5. Now, the Bills, they got it done against the Ravens, 17-3. Despite the win, Josh Allen, he had 206 yards passing and 1 touchdown, and that's all great and everything, but what actually got it done, I think, was the Bills' defense, right? More specifically, their run defense, which is supposed to be their weakness. But I digress. They held Lamar Jackson to 34 yards rushing. They forced him to beat him with their arm, and that's all she wrote. That's all it took. Now, the Chiefs, they lost Patrick Mahomes to injury, but they got it done with Chad Henne in the end. And as I said in the opening segment, Andy Reid, big guts. And I don't mean that in a Hempstead type of way. I was going to say something else, and then I was like, no, don't say it. Okay. But no, I mean, just, it was awesome. It was fun to watch, right? Now, Jeff, Drew, let's talk about this game with the expectation that Pat Mahomes is going to play, because if he wasn't going to play, if he doesn't play, I think the entire world is going to probably go with the Bills in this one, is what I would assume. But we're going to talk about this with the expectation that he will play in this game. He had a concussion, injured his toe, but nobody thinks he won't play. So do the Chiefs pull off that ever so evasive, elusive repeat to the Super Bowl, or is it Josh Allen in the Bills season to make an appearance for the first time in a long time? I don't know. I was like an infant. So it's been a long time. Who do you like in this game? I'll start with you, Drew.
It's tough to doubt the Chiefs. It's tough to doubt Mahomes and Andy Reid. Best quarterback coach combo in the league, and it's not close. They ought to be and rightfully so, favorites in this game, proverbial favorites to win the Super Bowl. It all makes sense. It checks out given what we've seen, how we've seen them play this year, and notably their ceiling. Like when everything's clicking, when everything's going right, this team is out of this world good. Now, I don't expect to see them at their ceiling in this game. Part of that is because of the opponent. The Bills are absolutely, not the ideal matchup for this team. In fact, there's so many similarities between these two squads, not just the way that the team is comprised, their strengths, their weaknesses. It's a very, there's a very small difference between these two teams in reality. And the fact that the Chiefs are, only 3-point favorites here is really only because they're the home team and they have a nice crowd, and and they have the legacy of having just won the Super Bowl, whereas we see Josh Allen wins his first playoff game this year. So in general, the market and the way it's shaped right now makes sense. I do think eventually this goes to Chiefs -3.5 across the board once we have 100% confirmation that Mahomes goes. But I still lean Buffalo in large part because I do think the foot injury to Mahomes is going to be a bigger deal than really the market is synthesizing right now. Pat Mahomes has in the playoff run last year, in all the way through this year, when the going got tough, when it was third down and medium to long, when they were one score up at the end of games, very, very often Andy Reid's go-to look on third down was, we're going to clear out one half of the field and we're going to give Mahomes the choice. Attack down the field if his man gets separation, or use his legs and get the first down on the ground. And Mahomes is one of the best kind of scrambling quarterbacks across the league. He did it with perfection last year in the playoffs, this year throughout the entire season. And if his foot is limiting him, if the turf toe is as big a deal as we think it could be, then this line's not correct. This should be closer to a pick 'em, because that absolutely neutralizes the ceiling of these two offenses. Now, I think the reasonable way to attack this is probably play under 54 in this game. That's a high total. The Chiefs defense is pretty underrated by the market, I would say. They're not as good as they were during their run to the Super Bowl last year, but they're good. They have talent. They have some of these guys, especially in the secondary, are stepping up. We have seen the Buffalo Bills take a meaningful step backwards in their offensive efficiency in the playoffs relative to what they were at the end of the regular season. Down the stretch in the regular season, this Bills team was hanging 40 points on everyone, and they were making it look easy. And either because of the higher intensity of the playoffs, the nerves, or because they're just going up against better defenses, Josh Allen and company aren't scoring 40 points a game anymore. It's been a lot harder for them to move the ball efficiently and put points on the board. And I think that you see, nerves in general in this game because you have two pretty young teams. And so first half under makes sense given the current number. I can see a scenario play out here where the Chiefs, get it done ugly early and are up similar to last week. They're up heading into the second half. They have a 2-score lead or more, and it's on the arm of Josh Allen to come back in this game and to make the passes to get them, give them a chance to win. I ultimately don't know that he's capable of doing that at this young point in his career, and so I'm not eventually going to get involved in the side likely here unless this goes way out of control and it's like Bills +4 or something like that. Because ultimately, I do believe in the Chiefs going through to the Super Bowl, but the under I think is the correct way to attack here. And if this looks the way I expect it to look in the first half, you'll know, and you may get a nice opportunity to back a second half over if the Bills are in comeback mode and they're just throw, which would, obviously, put scoreboard pressure on overall and put some pressure on that total. So I think the plan here is first half under, second half over, and then just in general, I think this should be closer to 51, not 54, given the potential Mahomes foot injury.
Wow, you look at all the talent on these two teams and the gunslingers that you have at quarterback here, and Andy Reid, and you have Stefon Diggs, who honestly, in my opinion, I could make a strong argument that he's like the MVP of the league this year because of what he has done, what he has opened up for that Bills offense, and just all the players you have, Tyreek Hill, Edwards-Helaire if he plays. I mean, Sammy Watkins. There's so much offense on. I would have thought you were going to come out the gate saying take the over, but that's kind of how my brain always works. Jeff will tell you I'm always about the over. I don't know why it's so hard for me to take the under, but people listen to him, not to me. Jeff, Coach, you got the X's and O's down. How do you see this game going? What are you feeling?
Well, it's really interesting when the Bills played last. They did not run the football. I'm talking about a called run, not a quarterback scramble. I'm talking about a legitimate called run until deep, almost to the end of the first half. And I don't think they can survive in this environment, putting that much on that young quarterback's shoulders. I understand they've got great receivers. John Brown is a good receiver. You mentioned Diggs. Diggs is an elite receiver. Cole Beasley's an elite slot receiver. Their tight ends are adequate. But I just don't think that in this kind of a pressure situation that Brian Daboll can do that again to his quarterback. And I know that they had one of their backs was out and the whole thing, but it appears to me like they're trying to. It's almost as if they're trying to create an image with what they're doing in the playoffs. And you go back to when they were really successful and really lighting it up earlier in the year, they would run it 12 to 15 times a game. And, Singletary's a better than average back. And, it was interesting in the game. I'm watching the game real close. And the reaction of the Bills offensive lineman when Daboll would finally call a run in the second half. And it was like they were it's like they got invited to a party. I mean, it was like a bunch of fat guys going to a cheeseburger party. I mean, and so I just think it's really, really interesting about this game. Not only the quarterbacks. You got a quarterback that's been there, felt it, done it, if he plays. And then you got a coach who's been there twice, knows what it is, knows what it's about. And over on the other side, Sean McDermott has done a phenomenal job. But this is his first trip this deep. And for him, I think it's going to be really, really important that they do a great job coaching in this game. Both teams play great special teams. I think that's a wash. I think Kansas City's defense is better than people give it credit for. They play in the shadow of that offense, so nobody talks about them. But you've got playmakers on that side of the ball, and I particularly think this is a game where Tyrann Mathieu is going to really make an impression in the game. I wouldn't, again, when there's so much riding on the health of the quarterback, I would not play this until I knew exactly what was going to happen with him. And, all the noise out of Kansas City is he's doing well. He's, Andy said, but Andy's not making the call. it's the neutral doctor that's making the call. And I do think that foot is going to be a factor. So I think Kansas City will win the game. I would take it as a pick'em game. And again, I think that I'm going to play the under too. I really do believe that Buffalo will press a little bit. Kansas City is going to get a few turnovers. And, again, especially if Mahomes doesn't play, you better take the under. Because I know anything's possible, but anything's also impossible.
Come on now, don't sleep on Chad Henne, Jeff. Don't sleep on him. No,
all
but
all I'm going to say is, when you were the backup to Blake Bortles, that doesn't speak well to me about your ability to play in big games.
Blake Bortles went to an AFC Championship game, Jeff. Don't be sleeping on the teenage
because
ninja.
He had Jalen Ramsey and Ngakoue and
Fournette, all them guys. Now, Jeff, really quick, I've been thinking about this a lot today. Okay, shower thoughts. You're talking about how the Bills, they're not running the ball, right? But almost nobody fakes the handoff more than Josh Allen in that Bills offense. Okay, the Bills are second in the league in running play action plays. Why is any defense still taking the bait at this point?
That's a good question.
Because linebackers are linebackers. They play linebackers for a reason, right? They are that. I mean, it's almost uncanny. And it's a great question. It really, really is. But I know from coaching those guys that you can tell them a million times, but they're going to do it every time. It's what linebackers do. They're wired that way. And you show them the ball and they're going to step at the ball. I mean, they're built that way. So I just really, when you talk about that Bills offense, last week they took a huge step back. They were, and again, I just watched the All-22 film of it. They were disjointed. And I know the wind played a factor. He missed a guy, he missed Diggs deep one time and probably would have hit him in other games. But, the Ravens really didn't do very much. They ran one front. They blitzed, I think, 3 or 4 times. It was just man-to-man against the receivers. And there was nobody that could create separation consistently, even Stefon Diggs. So if they're going to win this game, they got to play much better. And Josh can't turn it over. He can't revert back to that guy we saw last year in Houston where he tried to, pitch it over his head on the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
Right. All right, guys. Well, I will keep my analysis short and sweet. The Bills, they second in play action plays. The Chiefs, they're third. So
they don't run.
See a lot of that. Yeah, exactly. So it's funny to me that at this point defenses still take the bait, but I digress. Now, I have the Chiefs winning this game mostly for this reason. So the Bills, they love to blitz, right? But they don't actually usually get to the quarterback. They're one of the lowest teams in the league as far as sacks. Now, I don't know what they are in pressures, but in numbers, they're pretty low in sacks. The Chiefs, alternatively, no one has a higher QBR against 5 or more players coming at him than Pat Mahomes. His QBR is 134.2. So that's enough for me. Like everything else, I know I'm going to see offense in this game. I know the quarterbacks are good, all that stuff. Like I get it, but this is for me. This is the X factor, and I just think it's going to be what ends up sealing the coffin for the Bills. But it's been a fun run, and I'm happy to see Bills Mafia have so much fun. Oh, and you guys are crazy for taking the under. I'm taking the over. I'm absolutely taking the over in this game. Like that's it. But that's just me. All right. So there you have it, guys. There are the picks on this game. By the way, producer notes on this game. Chiefs could be without without defensive back Rashad Breeland, as he has to pass the NFL concussion protocol. And the Chiefs, they could have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Sammy Watkins back, but they're both right now listed as questionable. So the Chiefs are 0-8-1 against the spread in the last 9 games. The Bills are 9-1 against the spread in its last 10 games. So think about that as you're making your bets on this game. All right, guys, let us know in the comments below who you got. And also, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share this video for your chance to win some free Apple AirPods, okay? Do it, and let us know in the comments below what you think.